On March 6, 1981, in the court of the German city of Lübeck, an event took place which has few analogues in the history of German jurisprudence. In a room where even a man who raises his voice is immediately called to order, 8 shots rang out. A young woman, Marianne Bachmeier, shot at the accused at close range. It was impossible to miss. "He killed my daughter. I hope he's dead," she said. Experts ruled 6 hits out of 8 as fatal. It was the first case of lynching in a courthouse in Germany. It came as a complete surprise. No one envisioned such a thing, recalls prosecutor Klaus Ditterschulz. It was the Marianne Bachmeier case that led to the adoption of serious security measures in German courts, which are still strictly enforced today, he says. Cold storage worker Klaus Grabowski. This man had already served time in prison for sexually abusing 2 underage girls. One of the conditions of his release was chemical castration, which he agreed to. In 1973, Grabowski was also given a suspended prison sentence for attempting to strangle a 6-year-old girl. On May 5, 1980, Marianne Bachmeier's 7-year-old daughter Anna had an argument with her mother and did not go to school. Instead, she went to her classmate's house when she was invited to visit by a neighbor, 35-year-old Klaus Grabowski, to play with his cat. He raped Anna Bachmeier and, to cover up the traces of the crime, strangled the child with his fiancée's tights. Investigators later learned that Grabowski kept Anna in his home for several hours before hiding her body in a cardboard box and leaving her on the bank of a nearby canal. It is not known what was in Klaus's mind, but man shared his little victory with his fiancée. The girl feigned interest, but later called the police herself, and Grabowski was arrested. He confessed to the murder from the beginning. Yes, he put a stocking around his neck but he denied everything else as best he could. It's easy to assume that he knew how he'd be greeted in prison if he went to prison on such a charge. Instead, the perp said that Anna, a 7-year-old girl, tried to seduce him, and if she didn't, she threatened to tell her mother that he'd molested her and demanded money. Marianne, having learned of his testimony from the newspapers, became furious. At the same time, the previous exploits of the accused, for which he received unjustifiably lenient punishments, became public knowledge. The trial began in March 1981. Marianne attended to sessions. She listened with horror to the defense's arguments, saying that after the chemical castration he had undergone, after the sex crimes he had committed, Grabowski suffered from hormonal imbalance, and it made him irritable. The defense attorneys felt that he was in a state of severe emotional and, therefore, could not be held responsible for his actions. The accused himself crooked and insulted the mother of the deceased, repeating that the 7-year-old child seduced him, and that played the final role in Marianne's resolve. Marianne later confessed that what she wanted most of all was to silence Grabowski by any means necessary, to stop him from talking trash about my little girl. And she didn't even stop herself to murder with premeditated intent. This proves at least that in the basement of her pub she practiced with a gun shortly before committing a bloody revenge. True, her friend told about it much later. And in the court hearing, the defense managed to present what happened as spontaneous, completely unplanned actions. On March 6th, arriving at the regular session, as soon as it began, Marianne took a gun out of her purse and fired a full clip at her daughter's killer. 6 out of 8 bullets hit the target. For her actions, Marianne herself gets 6 years in prison for her own actions. Marianne was released after 3 years. And in a poll, only 6% of Germans actually supported the actions of the mother who lost her daughter. All other respondents condemned Marianne to varying degrees. She spent the last years of her life in Italy working in hospice care. In German, her profession is called, literally, death escort. But in Palermo, patients nicknamed Marianne Joy. It is said that she managed to brighten the last days and hours of more than one person. Marianne returned to Lübeck already hopelessly ill, cancer. The peculiar character of this woman was also expressed in the fact that she agreed with the director, who made a movie about her. One of the 2 movies about her that he would film her decline and death. This arrangement was honored, unlike her last wish. She wanted to be buried in Palermo, but found her final resting place in Lübeck, next to her daughter. This woman never once publicly repented of what she had done.